Last week, we talked about the mayor of D.C. actually kind of changing her tune when it comes to the policies of President Trump by surging federal law enforcement with the National Guard into the city to help get a hold on the crime situation there. While that was happening, you had out in California, the lawsuits from Governor Newsom trying to stop the use of the National Guard there when it came to federal immigration policy. And you had the governor of Illinois, who is another 2028 hopeful, pushing back defiantly against President Trump. So as these liberal governors defy the president's policies and say, we don't need you to do here what is clearly working in D.C. to get a hold of the crime problem that we have. In Chicago over the weekend, 54 people were shot, with 7 or 8 killed in those shootings. That is just unsustainable, unacceptable for an American city, all while the governor is not wanting to do anything with the president of the United States to try and get the crime problem under control. Chicago has the most murders of any city in the United States. It's not the top murder rate when you do per capita, but it has the most murders. And then when you look at other cities on those lists, there is a major crime problem in American cities, Jordan, and the president is trying to fix that. But the states that are more left-leaning prefer to play politics with the lives of their citizens instead of getting a hold on what has been a decades-long problem.
I think what it shows, Will, too, is how chaotic this weekend was in Chicago when major news outlets are reporting slightly different numbers. I mean, I was looking it up, and WGN News is saying 57 people were shot and 8 killed. You have others saying that it was 54 people were shot and 7 killed. That's how chaotic the weekend was, that major news outlets based in Chicago couldn't even get a solid number yet. And that may be because some of those people who were shot could be in such critical condition that 2 hours ago they wouldn't have been considered someone who had died or were killed, and now they are. I mean, imagine also the stress on the police. This is not like this happened in a couple big incidents. This is at least 54 individual shootings.
You also saw the governor of Illinois holding a press conference in a very unique place. And I think we should play this clip for people, Jordan.
Definitely.
Because this is where he was positioning himself as the anti-Donald Trump and the one that can lead Chicago through, and what a wonderful, safe place it is. Let's go ahead and roll bite 7.
We're very pleased about the progress that we're making. I know that I live rent-free in the president's head, and I wish he would spend some time in Chicago so that he could see what a lovely city we have.
Governor, quick follow-up. What do you do if the National Guard is activated and comes here?
So the idea that the president doesn't have a concern for Chicago, I mean, he's got one of his major buildings in the United States is right there in the heart of Chicago, in an area where crime usually wasn't an issue, even when Chicago was a high crime city. What's happening is that the crime is spreading out, and when you have 54 gun violence crimes in a holiday weekend, you are stretching the police force thin. I mean, they've got to. And that doesn't mean that they've been able to arrest any of these wrongdoers or most of these wrongdoers. So these are like ongoing cases. And then you add that what happens today in Chicago, what happens tonight in Chicago, and you understand how the police forces could be doing the best job they can, and they're still totally overwhelmed by the violence on the streets. Here's free help offered, and you're mocking that when you know that help has already worked in Washington, D.C. It brought carjackings down 87% just a couple weeks into the program, and it kind of defied all of the things that liberals were scared about. It comes to a close after 30 days. We'll see if Congress reauthorizes it for D.C. or not, or other places. They may not, depending on where the crime is at that point. You would think if you're a Chicago police officer, you would say, please come help us.
Right.
I mean, please come help us so that we can get these numbers down to a number that we can police as the size of our force. Right now, we're being overwhelmed. Let's get the number down to one we can actually stay in control of and keep most of our citizens safe from gun violence, safe from murder, or being seriously injured by violent crime.
And when you look at the mayor of Chicago was on Morning Joe last week and was asked multiple times by Joe Scarborough, obviously no fan of the president's, but would 3,000 extra police officers or law enforcement officials be something that would help you? Even if you get your wish list of all your community advocates and all of the mental health advocates you want, but if you add that, would it help? He refused to answer the question.
Do you believe that the streets of Chicago would be safer if there were more uniformed police officers on the streets of Chicago?
I believe the city of Chicago and cities across America would be safer if we actually had, affordable housing. Look,
okay,
I'm not saying
that's not the question I asked. My question is, and I just need a yes or a no, do you believe the streets of Chicago would be safer if you got all of those other extraordinary programs put back into place, which do have a history of being successful, if that's complemented by having 5,000 more cops on the streets of Chicago?
I don't believe that we should narrow it down to just police officers, Joe, is what I'm saying. That is an antiquated approach. I'm saying we've invested in detectives.
Mr. Mayor, are you hearing what I'm saying? I'm agreeing with you that all of these other social programs are extraordinarily important. I just need a yes or a no, and then this will be the last time I ask. If you get all of those other social programs that 800 million that New York City does, Los Angeles, other people do with great success, would an additional 5,000 cops on the streets in Chicago help complement those programs to make Chicago safer?
Look, we are working hard to make sure that our police department is fully supported. I don't believe that just simply putting out an arbitrary number around police officers is the answer.
But I want to play this as well, Jordan, because you mentioned, why wouldn't even these local officials want this? This is a Democrat alderman of Chicago, Raymond Lopez. He was on Fox News, and here's what he had to say after this crime spree that went on in Chicago this weekend. Bite 3.
As we've seen multiple mass shootings here in the city of Chicago, over 50 victims of gun violence, several people dead. We've made the best argument for Donald Trump to say that action is necessary right now.
And that is just looking at reality.
Yeah. But he opposes it. I mean, this is the thing. The mayor opposes it.
Right, correct.
You've got these councilmen who are saying, please come, but that's not going to be enough. You've got to, it's the mayor and the governor, and really in the case of Chicago, probably more the mayor than the governor, unless the governor's just trying to offer more support to the mayor's decision. But you see, folks who are representing smaller communities in Chicago are saying, I mean, what better case is there than 50 plus gun violence, at least 8 are dead, 7 or 8 are dead, our police are overwhelmed, and they go into a new day today. I mean, that was just over the weekend. And so it's not getting better, and something has to change. And really, it looks like the way only something can change here is that you put more law enforcement on the street, or you deputize National Guard to work with law enforcement. So in effect, you are getting this for free.
That's
right.
We're
taxpayers. We're all paying for it. But the city is not having to use its tax revenue the federal government is offering to put these troops in.
Well, and I think, once again, this is no fan of the president and not someone that we normally play.
You want crime down in a city when it's clear when you're the mayor or the governor that you can't do it alone.
Right. And I think we should play. This is Joe Scarborough actually this morning. Not someone we normally play. Obviously an antagonist of President Trump. But here's what he had to say about just all of this issue. This is bite 2 from this morning. And why these leftist officials can't really see what is a logical move. Let's roll bite 2.
Well, my concern is you have leaders in Chicago that see this. As you say, we've been reading about this for years now. Every weekend, and maybe crime has gone down. But, we had the mayor of Chicago on last week saying, we don't need any more police officers. Police officers aren't the answer. No police officers. I think he said no 5 times. You look what's happening this weekend. You look I actually think that J.B. Pritzker should do something radical. I think he should pick up the phone, call the president right now, hey, nothing to see here, moving along. No problem here. Hey, Donald Trump, we don't need you. And, the mayor talking about we're going to protect people's dignity in our city. We'll protect their lives. That's protecting their dignity.
And I think, unfortunately, because we have to agree with them,
Right.
but that is a very common sense response from Joe Scarborough there, is that the left forgets that allowing there to be such crime-ridden places when they are the leadership of it is not protecting the dignity of their citizens.
No, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
It's less dignity when you have to walk on the street and be scared. That's a hit on your dignity. You're not even focused on dignity. You're focused on just getting to where you need to go without being robbed or without being violently assaulted and being part of a crime or becoming one of those statistics. Life's very different when you walk out the door, and that's the first thing you have to think about. And in a lot of these major cities, depending on where you live in those cities, that is something you have to think about every time you go out the door, or sometimes even coming home. And when you're coming home from work, what time of day, what time of night? Are there any police on the street? Is there anyone there to protect you if you needed to shout for help? And that's a total lack of dignity.